Hi, this is Michael Schmalley, and this is part 3 of RTFM Machine. In this part, we will be talking about common operations defined by native instruments, and we are going through the manual in sections, and I'm adding what I've learned and maybe things that the manual doesn't say, and thus cementing it in my brain so I can really knock out some stuff in this program and my other DAWs that I use. Okay, so right now we need to understand selection. And when we talk about selection right now, we're not talking about arranging, we're just talking about sound design. And for sound design, we need to understand the groups and sounds. Well, we went over that. So now, how do you select groups and sounds, and what can you do? Well, you need to understand that you have to have a focused group first. Well, you'll always have a focus group unless you don't have the first group, because the first group will always be the focused group. So if I make another group, you can click the plus sign, or I can click the white to make another one and another one. Okay, and just for sake of demonstration, I will make 9, so we'll do that as 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we will go to bank 2 or bank B, whatever you want to say. Okay, now you see it's totally reset, and we're looking at the A group, and so I can continue to create. And to toggle between the group banks, you press Shift, and then we toggle here. So you can see that toggling A puts us back to the very beginning, the first 8, and then B will take us to the second 8. So we'll go back to A. And as you can see, we can then select on the controller which group we want, or we can select in the UI and it will select the associated controller button, D. And if you notice, we click here, it automatically switches the controller bank, the group bank, as if we pressed B. So you can see, I wonder if it'll do this. This is how I test up. Okay, look. Oh, look. I'm holding down Shift and going into the different banks, and you can see it is, switching these banks on top of showing new ones. So that's what it's doing under the covers when you go past 8 and you hit 9, 10, 11. Okay, now we'll just go to B, we'll switch back to group A on bank A and select group B. Okay, and as you can see, sound 1 is selected. Okay, it has nothing on it, there's no plugin loaded, so it's just empty. There's nothing there, nothing to play, but we can select on the pad. Okay, so we got 1 through 1, 4, 9, and 13. And sounds obviously don't have banks. There's only 16 sounds in a group. Okay. So for demonstration purposes, we'll just load a drum synth here so I can show you something, and then we'll load a snare here. So now on group B we've got a kick and a snare, and you can see that we are selecting the groups as we play them. So selecting a pad like this is called an audition select, a focus select, whatever you want to call it. But we have this select button, and we can select without auditioning, and this is perfect. Okay, perfect for live play because you're not playing the sound, but you can switch into the correct sound you want to play the parameters of the sound for live tweaking. And also note that when you press select on the controller, you on the Maschine Studio, you get the view of the groups and their names. So this says group A1, and then this over here says kick and snare. This is really awesome for live playing. Okay, really awesome. If you practice this controller, I bet, in a couple of years, I just wonder how this will, it's a really, you don't know what, technology has until it's been used by people that want to push it past, or just really, really get it and practice it. And that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay. And when we get to that part of the manual, obviously you can change the colors of these things, but I'm not getting to that. So that's another way without looking at stuff. But remember, select, and you get the view. And then it also, you'll notice it has the selected sound up here. Okay? And you can pin this. I'll mention that at the end. Okay, so now we know how to select a group and select a sound. We know the difference between an audition select and a non-audition select. And pressing the select gives us the benefit of seeing the information in the display. So you can see that if we go to a different bank and press select, we don't have anything here. I know you can't really see that, but there's nothing here. It just shows the selected pad that's empty, but it shows we're selected. So you can see this changes. So it's showing us where we're selected. Okay. Okay, so that takes care of selection. And then we've got the plugin and channel groups. So we are in plugin right here, and this shows, the parameters, which we'll get to. And one thing to note is that you can navigate sound level, group level, and add group effects, and add master effects. Okay, and the group of tab is dependent on obviously which group is selected. So you can put it into group mode and change your groups without having to change, press this button, which it makes sense. But the sound, we have this selected sound, but when you change groups, it automatically goes to the selection of the group. So that means that the selection of a group is stateful. That means that every group that you create remembers which selected sound it has. So whenever you go back to the group, if we add quickly a kick and a tom and one more just to make the point. Okay. Hi-hat. Okay. Okay, we got the hat. We go here. We got the kick. We go back. Hat is selected. Hi-hat. So our groups are remembering. We go snare. Back to A. Hi-hat still. Tom selected in the app. Snare still. You get the idea. That's nice too. And so that means that whenever you're switching groups, we have the correct sound focused up here, so you can leave it in the parameter display. That's how everything's tied together. Okay, and then the channels, you press the channel button, or we've got the plugin button here, or the channel button. You can select input, output, groove, macro, or you can be in pressing channel button. You can be in using these the navigation buttons here, and select through. Okay, so you can navigate through input, output, groove, and macro on the controller, or you can do it right here, input, output, groove, macro. Okay? And when you're in these, we have pages. And these are the parameter pages. So when an arrow's lit, it means there's pages. And you can't see it here, but it says 1 of 2. And I'll press this, and then it says 2 of 2. And we've had this change, and it shows you can't go forward, but you can go back. Okay? We got that. So this is very useful when you're in editing of a plugin. Oops. So now it says 1 of 3. We can go forward. We've got page 1. No parameters. I don't know why it does that. Maybe there's more coming. And then we have page 3, which has 1. It's interesting how they divided that, but it doesn't matter. On really complex VSTs like Massive, you got like 13 pages. And then Reactor, I mean, you make synths in Reactor and it's whatever you want. I mean, a nice synth is laid out well, and maybe a good sound designer is not going to put every parameter in the parameter pages on one of those custom synths, because it doesn't have anything to do with major sound sculpting. You would do that more in the VST UI itself. Okay, so we know that we can change from controller mode to plugin mode, and that we can use this list to select the different parameter pages. So here we are selected the snare synth plugin, and we have the different pages. Okay, so we got main, advanced, and modulation, and then the maximizer. As you can see, it says 1 of 2. Okay, and you can see maximizer selected here. And these knobs, on a note, if you press shift, you can fine increment them, shift and drag with the mouse, or on the controller you can move them, okay, or press shift and move them in very fine increments. Remember that, shift and knob turn, fine increments, shift on the keyboard and drag, fine increments. There's no snapping, it's just fine compared to whatever the value is. Okay, now we've got one other thing here that has to do with common operations, and it's an important one, and that's undo and redo. And if you didn't read the manual, you won't know this. So here is another RTFM special. That is that Native Instruments has the concept of a step undo and a take undo. Okay? When you press the undo button and redo button, even the words are here. You may not know what they're talking about, but a normal undo will undo a take undo. So they've defined in their programming chunks of commands that are like together as one command. Okay, so when you press undo, it actually goes through that list of all the commands in that one group command and undoes them all, and that is a take command. And they specify that they have recording in control mode is a take, recording in step mode is a take, and recording modulation, so however long you're recording your modulation automation, is a take. So it'll undo all of them from when you start the auto to off. Now if you press shift and then undo, it will actually undo each selective command in the group command. So take undo is take the whole thing. Step undo is undo each step at a time, or redo. And so you have Control Z, Command Z for undo, Control Y, Command Y, redo, and then Control Shift Y for the step undo, and that's Control Shift Y is redo, step redo, and Control Shift Z is step undo, and Command replace with Control. Okay, I'll be getting into more of this stuff. That was a general overview, but as I get deeper into the RTFM, we'll be using this stuff, so it'll become apparent that this is a good overview. Okay, thank you very much, and this is part 3, Common Operations. See you next time.